Okay, we're waiting for the stream to start now. Looks like it's going. I should sing something before we begin. No, I should not sing something because we don't want to scare people off. There we go. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening for our monthly general meeting of the La Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club. It is Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. I'm Mitch Wagner. I am VP Communications for the club. We've got an exciting meeting tonight with some great guests. We'll hear from our club president, Tina Rynberg, talking about what you can do to help elect Democrats. All you've got to do is to be able to walk and talk, and you don't even actually have to be able to walk. We're going to hear from Will Rodriguez Kennedy, chair of the San Diego Democratic Party, discussing redistricting and updates on the state of the party. And we're going to have a discussion of women's health and reproductive justice, featuring Assemblymember Akilah Weber, who represents La Mesa and the surrounding 79th District. Dr. Weber is a former member of the club board. For Dr. Weber, women's health and reproductive freedom isn't just a political matter. She's a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Also on that discussion will be Anna Heinz, a nurse practitioner at Palomar Medical Center in the Labor and Delivery Department with experience in prenatal and women's health, including working with Planned Parenthood. The moderator of the panel is Dr. Carol Perkins, PhD, a former professor of women's studies at San Diego State University and other colleges, who is also active on local community associations. She's a familiar face and voice to the club. She's moderated a number of our panels, both on Zoom and in real life, and we're always happy to have her back. Great to have you back, Carol, and not just because it's less work for me. Before we begin our usual routine announcements, we're streaming this meeting on our YouTube channel, so if you have friends or family who can't make it tonight on YouTube, or you experience technical difficulties and have to leave us, you can watch on that YouTube channel. Just search for La Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club on YouTube. The video will be available on YouTube a few minutes after the end of this meeting, so if you have to leave us and you need to catch up later, well, there you go. If you have anything you need to bring to our attention, or you notice any technical problem or anybody disrupting the meeting, please message my board colleague, Katie Sagetti. Please don't message me because I'll just ignore you because I am busy doing this. And now without further ado, doesn't look like Will is here. Oh wait, there he is in the waiting room. All right. We're gonna, as soon as Will joins, he just joined the meeting. There you are, Will. Will, you have perfect timing. We're ready for you. So I'm gonna unmute you now and you can take it away.
Wow, that was quick. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
So let me share my screen as soon as I figure out which screen it is. Go. One moment, y'all. I'm just having a little bit of slow computer day. Bear with me.
Okay, we are bearing. Now would be a good time. Katie has reminded me that now would be a good time to don't forget to renew your membership dues for 2022. There's a message in chat from Katie. You can pay online, you can mail in a check or cash, or you can go to the website and there's links right there. We'll just jump in when you're ready to go. We also have an announcement. Oh, you are? Great.
Thanks for stretching. I appreciate it. So I think I'm on. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. For those of you who don't know me, I think I know most of you, but my name is Will Rodriguez Kennedy. I'm chair of the San Diego County Democratic Party and a member of the Democratic National Committee. I work for the state of California, and I also serve on the Civil Service Commission and the Convention Center Board of Directors. So I wear a lot of hats, but I'm here today to talk to y'all about the party. So we're going to talk a little bit about redistricting, some updates, and also you actually will be one of the first to get the new strategic briefing real quick. So there's a lot of, this is an updated presentation, so you all are going to be in the first new information. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about redistricting. The redistricting maps are out for all of the general election races. We still have some redistricting to be done. There's a bunch of jurisdictions that have general elections only and not primaries, and so their maps are due in the spring. So what we've done is because right now, if you wanted to find all the maps, new and old, you'd have to go to the individual redistricting websites. So we have put that all in one place at www.stdemocrats.org/redistricting, where it sort of aggregates all the jurisdictions, different maps, old and new. In the terms of the snapshots for redistricting, for those of you who watched the redistricting process, you might have been very frustrated because it seemed a bit arbitrary. I tell a lot of the press people, the press and some of the clubs that it felt like we traded partisan gerrymandering that's done by people who knew what they were doing, but with political intent, for ignorant gerrymandering by people who have no clue, but were well-intentioned. So that's sort of the choice that we have, and we've chosen the independent route. If you were watching it, you probably saw how quickly they're drawing lines, and a single commissioner can draw a line one way, and suddenly people's entire fortunes and futures have been changed at the stroke of the pen. So it's pretty sort of frustrating to watch. But before we get to that, I did want to update y'all in terms of the snapshot of the party. This is the state of the party, and what it means. And what it means right now is that we have 800,859 members. So I think the slides are out of order, but regardless, we're going to go over this and we'll go into redistricting. And what this shows is the growth of our party. So there's a lot of myths out there that people are disenfranchised with the Democratic Party, that people are leaving the Democratic Party, that the party is for some reason stagnating because I don't know, they're too far left or they're too divisive or whatever. That is all mythological. The Democratic Party.
Will, I'm going to interrupt you right now. We're not seeing your slides.
Okay, cool. Let me share it again.
You were doing so well that we didn't even realize it. So
how about now?
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Cool. So I'll start with this and I'll go back into redistricting. So this is the graph about the state of the parties. It shows the party registration numbers from the same period for the last 10 years. And so that what we're talking about with the myths that people are like, oh, the Democrats are losing parties, or more people are registering or identifying as MPP as opposed to a member of the Democratic or Republican parties. That may be true for the Republican Party, but it's certainly not true for the Democratic Party. For the last 10 years, we have seen significant growth. And what you can see here is, one, there was significant growth after the presidential election in 2016. You can also see that there was significant growth immediately preceding the time when Democrats created the law motor voter. What you saw is an uptick in MPP voters and then a downtick in MPP voters as they registered as Democrats. And we now have 800,859 members. We have grown since just looking at a point in time in terms of when I took over as chair, we have grown by over 240,000 Democrats. So as a that's a significant growth, because in the immediate preceding 2 years, we only grew by about 18,000 Democrats. So there was a little bit of stagnation, but we are the only party growing compared to the population. So we are outpacing population growth, whereas the Republican Party has been stagnant. The MPP is on a downward turn. And if you look at the map really closely, you can see that both the Republican Party and MPP voters are on a downward turn. So, and then there's a slight increase trend in the others, but the others is split among all the other political parties. So we have a strong Democratic Party in San Diego that is outpacing the population growth as more and more people are registering Democrat. Back to redistricting. So into going over the congressional maps, it's what they did in terms of the state redistricting commission. They had sort of three things that I was able to extrapolate as what their strategy was. One, they wanted to create an they basically created barrier brackets. So actually, the first thing they did was establish a voting rights district in the bottom of the map. So in all the maps, there's a small, compact voting rights district meant to empower the Latino community. The second thing they did is create an East County bracket, sort of like a parentheses almost, and then they created a coastal parentheses, and then whatever's left was the inland sort of thing that they did. So in this map, you can see it. They created an East County district with the 48th congressional district. They created a Southern district that's a compact voting rights district, the 52nd congressional district, and they created these two coastal districts. And then whatever was left in the middle became the 51st. So we have, in terms of the maps, one of the weirder maps is the 50th congressional district, because it's both inland and coastal. It sort of it forks around Escondido and then goes southwest towards Torrey Pines and goes all the way south to the Coronado Strand. So in terms of registration, these districts are similar to their old districts. All the incumbents have a place to fall, so there will not be an incumbent fight, as we see so far. One of the incumbents may have a challenger, but in terms of registration, the 48th congressional district is R+12. It's not likely to flip in any time soon. The 49th is D+4. It's important to note this is San Diego only. Once you factor in the Orange County part, it's like D+2 or 3, so it's a very competitive seat. And then districts 50, 51, and 52 are D+18, D+17, and D+29. Those are heavily Democratic seats. They will be represented by Democrats. In the state, this is the weirder of the maps, but this map also has a lot of opportunity. So they created an East County district, but they did something weird. At first, the first thing, if you look at it, you'll notice that the southernmost district is the 18th Senate district, and that's because the maps are drawn from north to south. And basically, the southernmost district also goes all the way up through Imperial County, through Riverside County, all the way up into San Bernardino County. So that's when they got to 18, and then it just translated all the way down. So the southernmost district is the 18th district. It is a Democratic seat. We don't have the numbers quite yet, but we know that it's by the land mass, we know that it's a Democratic seat. Then you have the East County districts, which is 32 and 40th, but the 40th looks like sort of a boot in the middle of the map, unless you look like this, and it sort of looks like, I guess like this, it sort of looks like a bat or something. But its population centers are in San Marcos, Escondido, and the northern part of the city of San Diego, and then it goes all the way to North County and all the way to East. That is an R+0.56, I think, district. It might be R.0.6. Regardless, it's less than a percentage point R, but it's Biden +6, which means that is a competitive seat. The 38th Senate district, which was formerly represented by Pat Bates, the former Senate Republican leader, this is an open seat and a flip opportunity. It is a Democratic seat. It takes in parts of Orange County, but basically is the coast of San Diego from the 8 all the way north. It is a very Democratic seat. And then we have the 39th, which is not up this year. So in these maps, the 38th and 40th technically are the pickup opportunities and the top pickup opportunities for Senate Democrats. And that's a good thing for us because we are in partnership with the Senate Democrats here in San Diego County. We're partnered with them as a county party because it's led by our Senate President Pro Tem, Tony Atkins, who is amazing. In the Assembly district, you can see this again where they did the brackets. So they have their East County district, the 75th, which looks a lot like the 48th congressional district they created. They have a very compact voting rights district in the south, and the 80th, very compact Latino population. And then you have a bracket on the coast with the 74th and the 77th. Another thing they tried to do, I forgot to say, is they try to keep as many of the districts contiguous within the county. So in the congressional map, last map, we had 2 congressional seats that were completely within the county, and all 3 of the other ones went outside. In our current map, there are 3 districts completely within the county, and then the 2 districts that go into Riverside and Orange County only barely do that. So the population bulk is within county, so it is within the county of San Diego. In the Senate map, the same thing. The 2 districts that go out are the 32nd and the 38th. But in that scenario, we only had four Senate districts in San Diego County last time. Now we have 5. In the Assembly map, they did the same thing. In the old maps, you had the 76th, 75th, and 71st, which went out of the county of San Diego. In this map, only the 74th does. So you have the East County bracket, 75th Assembly District. You have the Voting Rights District in the 80th in the bottom. You have the bracket on the coast, which is the 77th. And then you have this sort of what's left. What's left is that middle strand, which was broken up into 3 different congressional assembly districts. The 74th Assembly District is basically based around Camp Pendleton. It's San Clemente north of it, and then has Vista and Oceanside south of it. 76 is the coast of San Diego from Carlsbad to the Coronado Strand. The 76th is based around Escondido and San Marcos and the northern part of the city of San Diego. That's where the population center is. The 78th is basically all the inland area in the middle that they were left with. Same thing with 79th, and then the 80th is a voting rights district. And if you look at their partisan registrations, 8074 is D plus 0.2, but once you factor in Orange County, it's like D plus or R plus 1 or 2, still competitive. And any district that's less than 3 or 4 Republican is competitive. In the 8075th, it's R plus 12, which is very similar to the congressional District 48. 76 is D plus 6, 77 is D plus 16, 78 is D plus 25, 79 is D plus 26, 80 is D plus 27. So we're going to be okay here in San Diego. Also, Marie Waldron and Randy Bopel were drawn into the same district. I think one of them's retiring, so we lost one of the vile Republicans who represents our county. In terms of the County Board of Supervisors, they did something completely different. They still won because they can't do the East County sort of coastal bracket quite the same way, because there's an ordinance in the county that requires that 2 of the districts be predominantly unincorporated. So in this map, what you have, they did try to pay attention to more of the minority communities. In the Northern District, you have the Latinx community and the Indigenous community. They wanted to keep the Latinx community that resides from Oceanside to Escondido and Escondido to the border, united with the Indigenous community on the reservations and around the Valley Center area. That led to the pink map at top. It's D plus 4, and it's about we gained about 3,000 Democratic voters over the Republicans. So it's a little bit more competitive, but it's still a tough district. The coastal district is the yellow district from Carlsbad to the Coronado Strand, plus parts of San Diego, Rancho Santa Fe, and a little bit unincorporated area. The southernmost district is still a compact voting rights Latino district. They tried to create another voting rights sort of empowerment district in the center of the district. They wanted to do from Hillcrest to like El Cajon and have this like district that brought a lot of the Black community and the immigrant community together, but there was like counter organizing with that from the Chaldean community, and they basically drew a map that made everyone unhappy. And then the District 2, which is the green district, is the more funky of the maps. It takes in parts of the city of San Diego and then goes all the way to East County. It's sort of a wild map. In the grand scheme of things, District 1, the blue one, is at the south is the D plus 28. District 2, the green map, is R plus 4, which is still sort of competitive. District 3 is D plus 14. District 4 is D plus 28, the purple one, and District 5 is D plus 4. So that's where we're at. Then I'm not going to cover too much about the city of San Diego because you all live there, but basically the long and short of it is that all the districts have a Democratic plurality, and so we have a good shot of taking all 9 San Diego City Council seats. So I'm looking forward to having that feather in the cap and collecting the whole set. Now, this is the important part that's new information. So for those of you who aren't aware, I designed my the party's political strategy last cycle to sort of to answer a problem. One of the problems we had is that the party's political strategies in the past was sort of not clearly stated, and sometimes was at the whim of like the more powerful candidates or the chair of the time. And so I wanted to create an objective metric by which we could engage and divide our parties, or unify our party's efforts along a strategic and objective set of strategies. And that created the Sandag Plus strategy, which requires the party to do 2 things. 1, to focus on all political races that contribute to a seat on Sandag, so the mayoralties, the city councils, and the Board of Supervisors. And 2, to focus on flippable special districts and education seats, which is the plus. And then what we're trying to do is create these economies of scale where we can do coordinated campaigns with the top tier campaigns alongside with our down ballot races. And what this allows us to do is to bring everyone's costs down because we can do coordinated spending. It allows us to do paid field. So if a campaign couldn't afford that themselves, we could pool our resources and do paid field for multiple campaigns, and also paid call and text, which is a program we launched last year because of the pandemic. We would have done paid field too, but we couldn't because of the pandemic. And as a result of that, 36 campaigns signed on to that program and they loved it. Mayor Sanchez, for example, talks about it, where she would not have been able to afford to do phone banks during the pandemic. One, you couldn't bring people together, and then the cost of doing it was exorbitant. So by leveraging our resources, we were able to launch a program that allowed her to do a paid phone bank, and now she's the mayor of San Diego. Or I'm sorry, of Oceanside. In terms of this strategy, I've identified 5 basic corridors, which are where we're going to set up the coordinated efforts. And the first corridor is the 49th corridor, focusing on the overlaps of the 49th, the Senate District 38, and the Assembly District 77, as well as the cities of Oceanside, Vista, and Carlsbad. So we'll be doing some coordinated work there. The second corridor is the 76th corridor, which includes the Senate District 40, the 50th Congressional District, and the cities of San Marcos and Escondido. So we'll be just doing some coordinated work there. The 79th corridor includes the 79th Assembly District and the cities of La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and El Cajon in the area around that. So we'll be doing a coordinated campaign there. And then the 51st corridor is which is District 6. We're focusing on District 6 because of the historic underrepresentation of the API community and our party's sort of lack of connection with that community. It's one of the communities that isn't quite as democratic as we would like to, and we need to put some special emphasis on it. So that will be the Metro West corridor. And the final corridor is the 52nd Congressional District, which includes the 80th Assembly District and the cities of Chula Vista, which is a defense target for Standag, and National City and Imperial Beach, as well as Senate District 18. And the goal of this is, now, if your area isn't in here, this doesn't mean that we're going to surrender the rest of the county. It just means that if we, like, for example, have an office, it'll be in one of these satellite offices. It'll be in one of these corridors, and it also means that we'll be using the top tier candidates to help fund down ballot coordinated campaign activity. A couple dates that you should be aware of. We're about to be in the California Democratic Party's convention, endorsing convention from March 3rd to the 6th. The Democratic National Committee meeting is from March 9th to the 12th. I will be going to DC. It's an in-person meeting. I'm really excited because I've never been to DC before. So if you have recommendations, let me know. On March 11th is the filing period, closing for the primary candidates. March 29th will be the final day for San Diego County Democratic Party to endorse the primary candidates. May 10th, early voting begins, and June 7th is election day for this year. A couple of updates that I wanted to let you all know about in terms of the party. The party has retooled its endorsement process in a couple of ways. One, it's rewritten its questionnaire to better gauge candidate viability, and tied our questionnaire to the platform. And the way we did this in the past, it's sort of like there were like 100 yes/no questions, which was sort of irritating, and also sort of dated. Now it would rather than 100 individual questions, it's like 13 or 14, like, have you read the platform? And if so, do you disagree with it? And this allows for our candidates to provide a little bit more nuance and not to be immediately like drawn into these black and white yes or no questions. So like if a candidate has an issue because locally in Santee that there's a part of the platform that doesn't work for them, it allows them to explain that to the party in a way that doesn't say yes or no, you're in or out. So that should be helpful to candidates, and it also shortens the questionnaire. Incumbents are now required to fill out a questionnaire that allows us to identify a couple of things. One, incumbents are now expected to be in touch with the party, meaning that once they are elected as a Democrat, they don't just run off into the sunset. They should be involved with their clubs. They should be contributing to the party and to their clubs, and evaluating that, seeing if they just used our party's infrastructure and then left. And then also ask them to identify what they've accomplished so that they can talk themselves up, and also what they want to accomplish with a second term or a third term or whatever. And then those are reviewed by a new committee, the Candidate Evaluations Committee, who submit their recommendations to the areas. Here are the endorsements we've made so far. There's a word list here, but I'll show you the link to find all our endorsements, and you can have the slides later. And then I also want, this is actually a little dated. We've redone our committees. One of the things we did this year is we opened our committees to people outside of the committee because there's no rule saying that they can. This allows people to serve on our committee and then have extra voice on the party's central committee through the areas. So we did that. We've started some new committees, candidate evaluations, the race and gender equity, which is now a new committee called MEDIC. And we're trying to create these committees that are more inclusive of the body and allowing them to do more day-to-day work in the party. We're going to continue our candidate training and training for new activists and organizers, and we've widely adopted digital tools to run flexible, safe, and effective field campaigns through minivan and distributed canvassing. When I took over as party chair, only about 10% of our teams did that. Now we're at a majority. We're still preserving the ability to use paperless for people who can't access this new technology, but we're moving in that direction, as is the entire party from the nation all the way on down. And I think, I'm supposed to ask in every club that I do, although I know you have an amazing Go Team leader who's also a leader of the club, but I'm supposed to ask in every club that I do this presentation for, if you haven't already, please join the Go Team. If you're a member of the Central Committee, it's expected that if you can, you're supposed to try to be a member of the Go Team, adopt your own precinct. We have a lot of precincts or neighborhoods that we still have to adopt in order to make sure that we can get our slate out there. It's a premier program. I think the local program is led by your esteemed leader, Tina Rynberg. But please join the Go Team if you haven't already, and you can do so at sddems.link/Go Team. And then also, if you haven't already, we have 800,000 Democrats to reach out to every year. And then also our programs will be helping other parts of the country. We'll be doing some coordinated work with other states where, like for Senate races and things like that, to make sure that we can reach out to 800,000 people. Just so you know, in terms of cost, it costs $300,000 to do our basic slate just once, and we have 2 elections a year. So if you haven't, please contribute to the party. www.sddem.org. You can give 5, 10, 20 bucks or whatever. You can do it monthly. We would appreciate that. And with that, I think here's some of the links that are probably useful in terms of our endorsement calendar. It'll be sddems.link/timeline, Democratic candidates page, sddems.link/candidates. That's where all the candidates are and our endorsements are. The redistricting map is sddemocrats.org/redistricting. To join the Go Team, sddems.link/Go Team, and to give to the party, www.sddem.org. And I think I'm done, and I'm here for questions. There's a lot of information there, so feel free to hit me.
That was a very, very thorough presentation. Thank you, Will. We do have one question from Suzanne Till in the chat. Wanting to know, what about West Santee from Carlton Hills West? This is a very Dem-heavy and progressive region. If you're not in the corridor, then do you not get funding?
No, that's not the case. What the corridor means is that we're setting up economies of scale. So we're creating these campaign teams and these like sort of where we'll be working with the higher. Okay, let me explain, because the finance element is complicated. So the money that the party uses it's given by unions, it's given by individuals. It's also investments from major organizations like the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the Senate Democrats, Assembly Democrats, etc. So the corridor is simply a way to show that these are the races we're focusing on in terms of extra focus. But the 79th corridor, if it doesn't highlight Santee, it should highlight Santee, because that one district is a strategic priority for us. So I'll have to look at that map later. It does not mean that we're going to surrender the rest of the county. It just means like our campaign office will likely be in that order, that corridor. We can't have 50 campaign offices. We could probably have 5. So that's probably what that's what it means. We won't be surrendering any part of the county.
Thank you. Any other questions for Will Rodriguez Kennedy? Going once. Going twice. I guess you're free, Will. Thank you very much once again. Next up, we're going to hear from Tina Rynberg, our club president, once again. Tina, go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yes, there's a small problem right now. I've been on the phone with our training data coordinator for the county party, and my training session is not up on the site the way it's supposed to be. So I told her to text me the answer, and hopefully I'll have it before the end of my program. I wanted to talk to you about GoTeam. Those of you that have a phone, if it's a smartphone, if you can get apps on it, you can get Minivan on it. And I promise you, you'll pour a glass of wine and you'll get through it, and then it's fine. It's kind of a hassle to get on it, but once you do the hokey pokey and you get all the, you got to sign in and get a code from another thing and all that. Once you get all that done, it's golden.
What is
It's
minivan, Tina?
Minivan it takes the place of a paper list. It will give you a map of people that you are to contact. And generally, now, another thing is they'll say 100 doors, which sounds terrifying, talking to 100 people. Anybody that's walked Go Team in any way will tell you that if you have 100 doors, you will maybe talk to 15, maybe max 20 people. Most of the people will not answer their door. You will hear the TV going. They heard you ring the doorbell. They're just not going to answer. So you leave the door hanger, and they didn't respond, and you move on. If you want to be really, really cool, you could put a little note. Sorry, I missed you. If you have any questions, call me. And the key about being in the Go Team is that eventually you build relationships with your neighbors. I'm sure they know me as the Democrat lady in my neighborhood. I've walked since 2008. I will walk and knock on a door and have somebody go, "Who are you? What do you want?" "Oh yeah, you're the girl with the thing. Okay, give me the thing. Yeah, I'll vote." That's my cell at this point. That's all I have to do is just show up, because I've been doing it for so long. So that you will get about 100 doors, and on minivan, you will be given, you can organize it many different ways, by name or by street or by map. And then you will see on the map little dots. These are all the people that you need to contact. It's very efficient. You just hit on one of the dots and it'll tell you this person at this address. So you go to the person, knock on the door. You're looking for George. He's about 48. So if you see somebody that's not George, you vamp. My two things that I always tell people to say are, "Hi, I'm Tina. I'm a volunteer, and I'm your neighbor. I'm your neighbor, and I'm a volunteer for the Democratic Party." At which point, either they say, "I'm a Republican," or they say, "Oh wow, great." So most of the people on your list are going to want to talk to you, and we're higher information voters than most of our neighbors are. So they want that information, and they're very grateful for it when they get it. Now I'm at the point now where my people in my neighborhood will say, "Oh, thank goodness you came, so now I can vote." They wait to get the recommendations. And the thing about the Go Team is also our door hangers are going to have the people that we endorse for water board and fire board and judge and everything you can imagine. And the people at the county headquarters do an amazing job of sorting everything out so that there'll be 20 maybe different versions of a door hanger. So we, in East County, we'll have at least a couple, probably, depending on where you are in the county, of the door hanger that you're going to walk with, which will have all of the Democrats in your area that have been endorsed. So yeah, don't be scared by the 100 people. You're not going to talk to 100 people, and most of them are going to be very nice. Most of them are Democrats, or all of them are either Democrats or people that have declined to state a party. The only time you're going to talk to a Republican is if there's a problem in the list and it didn't get updated, or they're living in a house with a Democrat or a declined to state voter. So we're talking to our own, we're taking care of that. And I always tell candidates, you guys, especially in East County, you guys have to talk to the Republicans, because the Go Team's got the Dems. We'll talk to all of them in your neighborhood and make sure that they vote for you. So yeah, the thing is, they want to hear from you. They need the information that we've got. Most people, even if they think they're pretty active, don't know which Superior Court judge they should vote for. And we do. A lot of times we met them at the club. So, it is something to the impact that you will make is huge. And the harder it is to reach them, the more impact is made. If you do 1,000 texts, which I'm not knocking it, it's a great way to get people, but it's going to have more impact if you actually knocked on their door and had a conversation with them. I promise you. And if you email a bunch of people, it's not as powerful. as if you knock on their door and talk to them. If you cannot walk, we do have programs. We can have you get a phone list and you can call people, and that can be really effective too. If you don't like talking to people at all, and you want to just walk and hang door hangers, in a pinch, we will have you do that, but we would prefer to have you actually knock on the door and just say a few words. And usually by the time you've gotten out, hi, my name is Tina, I'm your neighbor, and I'm a volunteer for the Democratic Party. That's all you have to say. Well, don't say your name is Tina, but and the thing is, your neighborhood needs you. It doesn't need me. Your neighborhood, you can say, oh, I'm the person, I live on that house on the top of the hill, where the dog always yodels, or whatever you can, say to make people understand that you are from their neighborhood. Or, wow, I've always admired your roses. You've got the most beautiful roses I've ever seen. And you can start that conversation, and it is much more effective than anything they're going to get. I mean, a door hanger in the mail is effective, but a door hanger that you handed to people is invaluable. And we've done research that shows that when you walk a precinct, the people that
I couldn't hear what you said.
Hush up, Siri. That when you walk a precinct, there's like a 17% chance more that they will vote. 17% is huge. So that is an election. And a lot of times candidates will say, I won my election by, an average of 2 votes per precinct. And all of us can reach 2 people that may not have voted or may not know. It amazes me every year. It's like, oh, honey, I'd love to vote, but I work until 7. This was back when we were voting in person. It's like, the polls are open until 8. It's like, really? So everybody's getting a mail ballot now. So everybody can mail it in. It's free postage. If they want you to, you can pick it up for them if they want to be dropped in a drop box rather than in the mail, if they don't trust the mail. There's all kinds of ways you can help, because we just got to chase every single vote. And, there's no such thing as my vote doesn't count, especially if you don't cast it, it doesn't. So this is we always say that we love our candidates, and this is the way to prove it. We got to have their backs, and we got to put our money where our mouth is. We have a little video that the party made about minivan.
All right, I'm going to attempt to show this. Often doesn't work because of bandwidth, but we'll give it a try. Here we go. All right.
I need sound. Mitch, can you add sound? When you share your screen, you can say share with sound.
Oh, okay. I never actually share the screen. So, all right, let's go share with sound. Let's try this again. First, we got to stop. Let's see what we can do here. New share. And I'm going to
It's
stop
remarkably
the
effective if there's no sound. There's no sound.
It is. They should be doing like a mime or interpretive dance thing for this, so we could all appreciate it.
Got it.
All right,
On
we're back to 0. All right, so we're going to do that. Then we're going to do share with sound this time. We'll see how that works. Share screen, advanced sharing options. That's not. I'm not seeing share with sound. I just see share screen. Let me try. Also, I have this window open. It's muted, so I'm going to shut this. I do not see a share with sound button. Tina, where do you see that? It just says share with
I
sound.
don't. Let me see.
It's generally on the lower left-hand side.
Thank you. Let's try this. All right, that's the audio settings. I'm not going to do this for much longer because it's not very interesting for the club. Let's try this one more time. Share screen.
And now you
Safari
should see it
tutorial.
on the left lower hand side once you
Oh,
hit
wait.
the-
Okay, here we go. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Brenda. Give it to a teacher to teach, right? All right. Here we go. Let's try this again. Beautiful music too.
With Minivan, our canvassing app for iOS and Android, canvassing has never been easier. Minivan provides a canvassing experience that is more efficient, effective, and fun for all canvassers, especially first-time volunteers. Before getting started, download Minivan from the Google Play or Apple App Store and log in using your Action ID. If you don't have an Action ID, you can create one using your email address. Select Login using Action ID. Once you are logged into Minivan, you'll be taken to a landing page where you'll enter in your list number that is provided by your organizer. Once your turf is downloaded, it will take you to the My List tab, where you can see a map view of your turf packet and a list view where you can see the individual addresses of each home. Talking to someone who's not on your list? Add people to your list in the search bar. Click on the icon and search the database for their information. Minivan syncs automatically with your campaign or organization's database and updates periodically to provide you the most up-to-date information about the people on your list, such as if they have voted or been canvassed by another person on your team. The Minivan map is interactive. You can click directly on the household in the map and an address box will pop up. Click on the box and it will take you to the voters listed at that address. Just click on a person's name and proceed with your canvass. The household view of your list shows the general area you will be canvassing, with the houses sorted by the address per street. You can adjust your list from household view to people view, with the list resorting to an alphabetical order by last name of the people on your list. You can also filter your canvas list. You can filter by odd and even households if you are splitting your turf, or filter the list to those you have not contacted previously. You can filter using a variety of filters that may fit your canvassing needs with options that are fully customizable by your field organizer. As you begin canvassing, you'll notice one or more icons under each address. Each icon represents a household member. Multiple icons in the home represent multiple members to be canvassed. As you canvass people, the icon color will change as you mark your progress, with gray representing a person to be canvassed, blue representing a successful canvass, orange representing a person not being home, and black representing inaccessible, lit drop, or any other canvas result. Whether in household view or people view, you can quickly label a person as not home or as a lit drop by swiping right on their name or address in iOS or clicking and holding on their name and address in Android. Select LD for lit drop or NH for not home. Once selected, the icon will change to the corresponding color. If you swipe right on the address, it will label the entire household as either lit drop or not home. Swipe right on an individual person only to just label them. As you begin talking with people on your list, you'll click on their name in Minivan and it will take you to the script page. You also see a details page where you can add important details like a phone number or email. The notes page is where you can add important notes in regard to your interaction. The history page will show you the last time the organization has contacted a person, breaking down the history by contact history, survey question history, and activist codes. At the top of the script page, you will see I couldn't reach this contact. Select this option if the person is unavailable. You'll be provided a variety of options for the person's unavailability, including not home and lit drop. Choose the most accurate option and proceed to the next person. If the person is home, proceed according to your script and mark the answer that the person provides. Based on their answer, the script will branch off into follow-up questions that you can ask them. Once you are finished, proceed to the next person or go back to your list. If you go back to your list, you will see that your canvassing has been successfully updated. You can now proceed to your next person. Under the Next Door tab, your households are organized by distance. If available, our new smart feature optimizes your route for walking or driving, providing you the most efficient path for your canvassing route. You can check your progress under the Progress tab. Minivan does the math for you, so you can quickly check and report your progress and responses at the end of your canvass. If you are splitting your turf with a partner, you can keep up to date with their progress in Minivan. The red icon presented on a household symbolizes that someone else has already walked this house. You will also be able to see which people have already voted in Minivan. You are now equipped with everything you need to have a successful canvass using Minivan. If you encounter any issues while using Minivan, please reach out to your field organizer with any additional questions.
Yeah, thanks. That was a tiny bit dry, but I just wanted to say one more thing. This thing is not smarter than you. You are smarter than this phone. No matter how smart your phone is, you are smarter. We can figure this out and we can make it work. Also, your phone does not have me, and it does not have Susie, and it does not have other people that are going to help you if you have a problem. So Susie Rubin, our new board member, is a whiz at all these programs. So I just want you to know that whatever as long as it can get apps, you can do this. And it will make sense and it will be very easy. Also, when you walk with Minivan and you do your little thing and you click your thing and you reach to people and blah, blah, blah. When you're done, you sync it. And then data doesn't have to be entered because the data is already entered and it's so much more efficient. Finding people to enter data after you walked a paper list is kind of difficult. People don't want to do it. Looks like Lisa is gesticulating wildly and wants to be unmuted.
Okay, I will unmute Lisa.
Did you have a
Good
question?
job spotting the gesticulating. Lisa, you are free to speak. Well, Lisa doesn't want to talk to us. That's
Or maybe
fine.
there's just a bee in her house. I don't know. Meryl, the training link is on the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I always find the minivan training to be overwhelming. When I go out and do it, I try to keep it simple, like knock on the doors where it says on the list, talk to them if they're home, leave the literature either way, fill out the paperwork as best as you can.
90% of the people are going to be not home, and you
Yeah,
don't let.
and then the ones you talk to, it's like, well, the husband's a Republican and said his wife didn't want to come to the door. How do I want to fill that out? Whatever,
Yeah.
do the best you can.
Well, yeah, I want to go. Joanne, can you hear me? Twice.
Are you being held? Are you being held hostage? And do we have a tip from Jack Shue? Don't walk and look at your minivan app at the same time. Stop and look at your phone before crossing the street. I would modify that if you do walk and look at the app at the same time, make sure someone is videoing you because that'll go viral like crazy. You'll be on TikTok and you'll be ahead.
Yeah, your two magic bullets are neighbor and volunteer.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I'm always nervous doing this. I won't lie. Every year it comes up. It's like, it's coming again, and then I do it, and I'm like, that was nice.
I have to
talk to my neighbors.
Talk Mitch down every year. It's like, no, you're just going to go. No, walk to the people, knock on the door, and say 2 sentences, and yeah, and maybe once in a whole session in a whole precinct, you'll find somebody that's being a d-bag that is not very nice to you. But the I promise you, the next house is going to be like, oh, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you. I'm so happy now I have this information. So I promise there's always the nice guy. Yeah. Yeah. So I did have one woman. Yeah. I got one woman yelled at me, but what the heck?
And many other people were very, very nice. And some of them invited me into their home and we chatted for a while and it was a lovely experience. All right, so.
Any other questions or problems? Now,
Yeah,
when I
have a
say
question.
training, I mean training for people that have never walked GoTeam before. A lot of you have already done this, so you don't need to sign up for this training. We will do a kickoff when we get closer to the election for those of you that have walked before, and we'll just do like a quick refresher thing on you know how to you know here's your list, or here's your code for your list and your door hangers. Pull up your socks and go. That's going to happen in, later on.
Okay. All right. Have we covered GoTeam, do you think? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Actually took notes for a presentation I did. I just freaked out the dog.
Just knock stuff over there. Trash your own house. Go ahead.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Sure.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. Yeah, I missed the very beginning, and I just wanted to know, is it going to be required now to use that app or a computer system, or will paper still be an option for those of us who find it easier to?
It is strongly recommended. And I'm going to say it's a requirement that you at least try to download the app. Because once you downloaded the app, that's 90% of the work right there.
Yeah. Trouble is, I've done canvassing before, and I have some problems with my eyes, and it's really hard outdoors for me to read the addresses and everything, and it's just much easier for me to read it on print. So if it becomes a requirement, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Not going to do that. I promise we will not do that. Just so Susie or Sarah, you have a flip phone, right?
A flip phone?
You have a phone that won't take apps, right?
No, my phone will take
I'm
apps.
winking at you as hard as I can.
No, I mean, I'm using a computer right now. No, I use apps, but I'm saying that if I'm outdoors going door to door, it's very hard for me on a computer screen to read those addresses.
I will tell you that they've gotten better, because the first time I tried to walk with GoTeam years and years and years ago, I had the same problem, but it was better in the recall. Maybe it was because it was September, I don't know, but it was not as hard to see. Did anybody else have that experience? Okay.
No, I've had trouble with it occasionally. I just kind of turned my back and shaded a bit. So
yeah. So we will, yes, there will be people that we have to create paper lists for. We're just trying to minimize them as much as possible. And if you have if your phone can get apps, then you can probably do this. But we will obviously, we would rather make a paper list and go through the rather than lose a GoTeam walker. So rest assured there, Sarah.
Thank you.
We need you and want you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, those of you that can, please just try to download the app and see what happens. See what happens. It's free. It looks like it's a blue box with little white dots that I'll show you. Oops. Where is it? There it is. There it is. That's what the app is going to look like. So anyway, thank you for listening, and we're really going to try whatever way you do it. If you need to make phone calls, if you need to do texts, we want everybody involved. That would make a huge difference in our election.
okay. All right. Thank you, Tina. And now Carol Perkins, are you ready to go? We have, I believe, one of our two speakers here now. And so I think we can get started. And then when Assemblymember Weber joins us, we can slot her right in. Carol?
Okay. We're ready.
All right, I'll turn it over to you. I'm going on mute.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted. We hear you loud
All
and
right.
clear.
Okay, thank you very much. We are waiting for Akilah Weber to arrive, but Anna Heinz and I will proceed until she gets here. And our topic, as you know, tonight is women's health and reproductive rights, which are under attack from a lot of places, but from conservative religious, in particular, conservative religious people around the country. So we're going to be able to discuss tonight where we are and where we're going and what kinds of strategies we need to be thinking about. And I'm going to give a little history of this whole issue, perhaps, before Anna Heinz becomes the speaker. If you go back to the late 1800s and into the 20th century, Margaret Sanger is the name that comes to the forefront. She was a public nurse in New York City and the Lower East Side, where illegal abortion was, in fact, the only method of birth control among poor immigrant families. She spent the rest of her life trying to give women control of their fertility. She saw brutal poverty. Women were unable by law and custom to deny a husband's demands. A woman was a slave, actually, often malnourished herself. Her children were sickly, and she was continually depleted. So Sanger saw this as a call to demand change, and she began advocating for contraception, which at that time was illegal, and information about contraception was forbidden by law. Sanger began contraceptive education. Family Limitation was her first publication. She employed nonviolent civil disobedience and was put in jail 8 times for her advocacy, for her just braveness. She never advocated abortion. She was trying to get birth control methods available to women. She opened the first birth control clinic in the United States. So that was in the about 1912, and in that era when the women's rights movement was very active, and when suffrage was on the move, and before women got the vote. By the time Roe versus Wade was passed, 60 years later, in 1973, finally the right to a woman's right to have an abortion became legal at the national level through that law. States were able to add whatever they wanted to in terms of availability for contraception, for abortion. And that's where we stand today. Now, another 60 years later, we are finding that Roe versus Wade is under attack from all sides. There are, to me, not that I'm at all biased on this issue, there are horrible things going on. Let's just take South Dakota, for instance, where the governor, Kristi Noem, N-O-E-M, a very attractive woman, wants to ban the abortion pill, which has become a very safe and very available form of ending a pregnancy for women who have very little access to abortion clinics, actually none in the state of South Dakota. And they know that if they ban this avenue, there will be no way for women to have an unwanted pregnancy terminated. Planned Parenthood is there is one Planned Parenthood provider in the entire state, and they are suing the state right now. They're saying that it's an unconstitutional violation of abortion rights. 40% of abortions today, and Anna, you certainly will know more about this than I do, 40% of abortions today are done through medication, not surgery. So what I think people of my generation call the morning after pill is what became this medical process. 54% of US abortions are done that way with a pill. Let's see what else. There's, of course, once you mention Texas, there's hardly anything they're not doing wrong. And at this point, they enacted in 2021 106 abortion restrictions Throughout in 19 states, 106 abortion restrictions were enacted, chipping away at abortion access. Texas bans abortion at 6 weeks. Their Senate Bill 8 awards private citizens anywhere in the US $10,000 if they successfully sue another person for providing an abortion or helping someone get abortion in Texas. That's really a very difficult thing to put into the mindset of people like ourselves. Disproportionately, it affects low-income people, particularly Black women, whose mortality rate following childbirth is 3 times higher than white women. So it is a particular terrible thing. State level bills make abortion illegal.
Okay, Carol, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Dr. Weber has joined us.
Okay, good, Akilah. All right. State level bills make abortion illegal at a specific week of pregnancy. And there are now sanctuary city ordinances, which are being, which make abortion entirely illegal in one town or city. There are all kinds of things going on to chip away and hack away and eviscerate abortion rights in this country. So today we have 2 women who are deeply involved with women's health and with women's right to reproductive rights. And I'm going to introduce, we know Akilah, but I'm going to introduce Anna to you. Anna Heinz is here with us. She's a nurse practitioner, and she got her undergraduate degree in physics and German before becoming a nurse, and then training to become a nurse midwife and a women's health nurse practitioner. From her early days as a high school teacher to her many roles in healthcare, she has always had a passion for teaching and for interpersonal connections. She pursued the world of reproductive health because she saw it as an opportunity to give women a greater sense of empowerment and understanding of body issues and sexual well-being. Anna strives to see each patient as an individual and looks to both traditional medicine and to alternative therapies to provide a complete plan of care. She currently works both in private practice in obstetrics offices as well as Planned Parenthood. So she can provide a broad demographic of patients. She can serve a broad demographic of patients and maintain proficiency in treating a variety of sexual health conditions. And I'm so glad that we are able to have a representative from Planned Parenthood on this panel. Our other panelist is our Akilah Weber, who will, of course, is our Assemblymember Akilah Weber, who represents La Mesa and the surrounding 79th district. And she has been on the Democratic Club board here in La Mesa as well. Dr. Weber, from Dr. Weber, as we read in our forecast, women's health and reproductive freedom isn't just a political matter. She is a board certified obstetrician gynecologist. I'm just going to open this up to Akilah and Anna to have a conversation as they see the situation in the state of California. How do we see the progress or the regression or what's happening here for women and their rights for reproductive freedom and general women's health? Do you want to speak first, Anna? Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction. I find myself very fortunate to be in California as a women's health and reproductive rights provider, because we really hold these things sacred in our state, I think, and have made a lot of legislative progress to protect those rights. And our affiliate of Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest, which represents San Diego County, Riverside County, as well as Imperial County, strongest affiliates in the nation. And we're able to provide very extensive access to our patients here in California, but also provide a lot of outreach to patients from other states who are having more challenges as they seek reproductive health care, whether it's abortion services, contraceptive benefits, or other things, as well as patients from across the border who cross over from Mexico. Oh. So I think it's a wonderful role and a very fortunate place to be. As we unfortunately see things getting chipped away across the country, I know that California has made a lot of progress to protect those rights and kind of build it into our infrastructure to make sure that we will always be a place where these services can be accessed.
And Dr. Weber, what do you have to tell us tonight?
Well, first, I want to start by saying good evening to everyone. It has been a while since I've seen many of you, but it's so good. Hi, it's so good to see you all. You know, I was kind of hopeful that this was going to be in person because I was actually in San Diego today, and I just flew back to Sacramento about an hour ago. And so if we had been in person, then I would have been able to see everybody in person, but hopefully soon. I just also want to thank you all for having this discussion. I think it's so very important to have, very timely to have. You know, as Anna stated, we are lucky in California. I'm not sure how many of you know, but before I moved back to San Diego, I was actually practicing in Texas. And one of the reasons why I left is because I said, you know what, these people have a war against women's health. And I left in 2013. And what I saw at the time was just the slowly chipping away of just, not even just abortion, but just access to reproductive health care. And so I would have these teen girls coming to my clinic for contraception or to get the implant removed out of their arm. And I always would ask, like, where did you have it placed? And they were like, well, we had it placed at Planned Parenthood, but that one is closed where I went to have it placed. And it was just so very frustrating for me. I was on faculty at UT Southwestern, and our residents covered that hospital and Parkland Hospital, which is a huge county hospital in Dallas. And actually the OBGYN residency program at Parkland is the largest OBGYN residency program in the country. And in order to have a program there, they actually had made a deal with the county of Dallas that they would not teach the residents how to perform terminations. And so, you know, here you have the largest, you know, reproductive health residency program in the country. The place where what we call the Bible for obstetrics, Williams Obstetrics, comes out of Parkland. And these residents are not being trained on performing abortion procedures, first trimester nor second trimester. And so it was very, very frustrating for me, for someone who truly believes in complete training and providing complete access for women for the reproductive health care needs. So I wasn't surprised when I saw the things that they were doing. And, you know, I told people when Trump got elected, we need to figure out what we're going to do as far as Roe versus Wade, because it's only a matter of time, unfortunately, before the composition of the court is changed by this particular individual, and we get into a situation where abortion rights may not be available and accessible for every woman in every state in this country. And unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen. You know, it's estimated that probably about 26 states will at some point, once the Supreme Court makes its ruling, start to chip away at having access for abortion rights for women in their countries. And so what that means is that here in California, we need to be a little bit better prepared. We've done a good job so far. It is one of our core principles, but it's still not easy nor accessible for every woman. There are some insurance companies that state that they're not covering it. And so that, of course, is a burden for them. We need to make sure that we have a very solid supply of providers that are available to either prescribe the medications or to perform the procedures, so that women that live in rural areas or in inner cities don't necessarily have to go out of their way for this care and delay the termination itself. You know, there is a bill right now that I am co-authoring, and we're just waiting for the speaker to say we could bring it up on the floor, but it's SB 245, and it's called the Abortion Accessibility Act. And basically what that does is it states that if you have a state licensed healthcare plan here in California, you cannot deny covering abortion services. And so that will definitely help out California residents who have insurance companies that are state licensed, who currently do not cover abortion services. But the question in the future becomes, what about the women who aren't from California, but will be coming to California for these services? And so one of the good things that's happened is the Women's Caucus, a couple of us in the Women's Caucus have really kind of taken this issue up and are working with groups like Planned Parenthood to ensure that we have the legislative tools to provide whatever kind of care is needed once Roe versus Wade is overturned, or if it's overturned, which we think it probably will be. And so my part of that is making sure that we have the funding for women who are coming from out of state, because their insurance won't cover it. And we need to make sure that we have a robust financial system. And so I have AB 2134, which is the CARE Act, the California Reproductive Health Equity Program, so that if you are seeking abortion services here in California, cost will not be a barrier. And so providers will still be able to get paid and patients will be able to get the care that they need. And one of the cool things about this program is that personal individuals can also provide funding for it. You can donate to it as well. And so, very hopeful that that this will be able to pass through the Senate and the Assembly. And once it gets on the governor's desk, that he'll sign it. We've been working very closely with him to make sure that the language works for his office. But we understand that women across the nation are going to be in trouble in the next few months. And in California, we need to be prepared and ready to be a sanctuary state in this particular regard.
Thank you. And I know there will be questions. And I want to ask one more thing, Anna, about education. I know Planned Parenthood has been in the business of education as well as providing services. And way back when, there was New Image Teen Theater here in San Diego that was associated. So there's always been that. How does that work now? Are there still outreach programs for young people and for other people about reproductive rights or about reproduction and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest, at least our affiliate here, we do a lot of outreach both to schools as well as to other at-risk groups, sometimes going into group homes, into detention halls, things like that. We're making sure that all young people can get the information that they need. With the rise of social media, there's also been a lot of effort at, upping the website for patients to have access, including creating new apps, TikTok videos, YouTube videos, so that anyone of any age, but especially young people, can access more information, and not just related to abortion care, but about getting to know their bodies more and understanding how their menstrual cycles work and how to have safer sex and how to get tested for sexually transmitted infections, and just trying to reduce a lot of that stigma so that as they seek care, it becomes a less intimidating process.
Okay.
I think a lot of times young people just feel so nervous kind of taking that first step into the office. And if they can remove some of those hurdles, it definitely helps. And in California, we also have the Family Pact program, which allows for a lot of access to reproductive health care for patients who either have or don't have insurance, but need to access care for confidential reasons, so that young people can get these services without needing to involve their parents or their partners or anyone else.
Wow.
And get the birth control that they need.
Oh, good. That's new in the world. Akilah.
And Carol, if I can just piggyback on that, I think one of the other things that we should always also focus and encourage is not just the education that Planned Parenthood is doing, which is amazing, but also making sure that our pediatricians and adolescent medicine specialists, and wherever there happens to be another pediatric adolescent gynecologist, is also providing these care. Because I know, like when I started at Rady's, one of the first things I did was to make that site a family pack site, so that patients could come and receive their birth control, their STI screen, their pregnancy test confidentially. And so it would be billed to family pack and not to their parents' insurance. And a lot of times that's what the barrier is. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes kids, especially teens, feel more comfortable going into a space where they're familiar, like their pediatrician's office, or sometimes they may think, oh, Planned Parenthood, people only go there if they need, you know, abortion services. And so I don't want to go there for that. And so it's really important that we continue to educate our providers in the community, to educate and to be able to come family pack sites so that they can provide these confidential services for their patients as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful. Do you have any other things that you want to address, either of you, before we might have some questions? I'm not seeing any questions yet, but what other kinds of issues do you see, both locally, statewide? You know, I know you think that we all think Roe v. Wade is probably going to get overturned, but what do we do next? Do you think? How do we manage?
You know, I think from a legislative standpoint here, you know, in California, we're okay. But I always encourage us to reach out to our fellow Democrats, our fellow, you know, Democratic clubs in other states that are not okay, to see what we can do here to help with them, whether it's making phone calls or letter writing campaigns. Because, you know, even though it's projected that we've got, you know, about 26 states that are going to do something, those things haven't necessarily been done yet. Right. And so helping out our fellow Americans in other states, our fellow women in other states is always needed.
Good point. Excellent point. Anna, do you have anything to add to that?
I think the only other thing is just helping create more opportunities for healthcare to get the knowledge that they need, whether that's you know, at the nursing school programs or medical school programs, and making sure that there's kind of a solid foundation and really kind of opening that door to patients and making them feel welcome so that they can address these sort of taboo topics and you know, feel more comfortable having the conversations with their healthcare providers.
Excellent point. And I think we do have questions. I'm not seeing, but Mitch is. So Mitch, you want to field a question or two here?
Actually, Tina has two questions.
All right.
Tina, you can speak or you can type, whichever. Hello.
Yeah, I speak quicker than I type. I speak quicker than most people type. This is a question for either or both of you. Those of us that have had a child know the pregnancy timeline. I think a lot of people are under the impression that you find out you're pregnant is 0 weeks. You have 6 weeks to decide. And that's not the way pregnancies work. Can you maybe explain that to those of us that maybe not know that?
Yeah, so that's one of the issues, one of the many issues with the law that has, because most women don't know that they're pregnant until they're 5 or 6 weeks out, right? And we talk about, oh, you know, your missed period. And that's kind of like a sign. And that's usually when you might start having some symptoms, but you know, you're like, okay, I missed my period for like a day or two, or maybe like 5 days, whatever, it maybe just be off. So by the time you realize that you're pregnant, which is usually by like a home pregnancy test, you're probably the earliest 5 weeks. Now, the time that you're going to actually get in to see a physician is much longer than that. And so that's one of the many problems with the bill. By the time a woman knows that she's pregnant and is seeing a doctor for counseling, she's way past that 6 week mark. And they knew that, right? That's not something that's a surprise. You know, people have been having babies for forever. And so that's one of the main issues of this bill, that most women won't even know that they're pregnant or have seen a physician to confirm it and do the ultrasound and all of that stuff by 6 weeks.
No.
And just to kind of jump on that, you know, people who are seeking access to care often have a difficult time, like Dr. Weber mentioned, getting in with their OB providers, even if they have an established provider. And so they call the office, they can't get put in, you know, for another 3 to 4 weeks. And so maybe they go to a crisis center because they're guaranteed, you know, free pregnancy tests or the promise of an ultrasound. And these crisis centers have very clever ways of kind of stringing people along to buy more time. So you go in, they run the pregnancy test, just like the one that you could have gotten yourself from the dollar store or from Walmart. And then they say, okay, but our ultrasound provider won't be here for 2 weeks. And so, you know, then we can do a dating ultrasound and find out how far along you are. And by that time, you know, maybe you're 7, 8, 9 weeks along. And then you realize maybe you don't want to continue this pregnancy, or you're just kind of finding out what your options are. And by that point, you may have already missed the cutoff, which is 10 weeks to have a medication abortion, or you're kind of struggling with finances. Even though the state of California still has a lot of great programs for both prenatal care as well as termination services. If you're a member of the military, which we have a lot of in San Diego County, TRICARE is not going to cover abortion services, and sometimes even finding prenatal care services because the military hospitals are so overbooked. You know, all of this care just takes time. And so, you know, helping people get care sooner makes a big difference.
Excellent.
My second question, if I may, is most of us have had or know someone who has had a miscarriage, and that needs care by a gynecologist. And a lot of times it seems like that's mixed up with abortion, which is really unfortunate.
It is mixed up with abortion, which is unfortunate. And I think one reason for that is depending on what's happening with the miscarriage. If you have to have a surgical procedure to assist with that miscarriage, so if you have like a abortion or miscarriage, or you have an incomplete miscarriage and you need a surgical procedure, the surgical procedure that we do for that is the same that we would do for a elective abortion. And so that's one of the reasons why. And even now, sometimes we'll give the same medications that are used for medical elective abortions for someone who's had a miscarriage. And when we say that, that means that, you know, there's no fetal heartbeat or anything like that. But we give them the same medications, or we do the same procedures. And unfortunately, that's why people sometimes like to say that they're the same, which, as you pointed out, Tina, they are not.
Okay, we had a question about what about club members who might not support a woman's right to choose? How would you address that? Maybe one for Dr. Weber, who is the elected official here.
Well, I think, you know, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And I do think that from the standpoint of the Democratic Party, we have always been pro-choice, which doesn't necessarily mean that you are for abortion, but you understand that that is a fundamental right of a woman to choose what happens to her body. And that it is not the role of a man or government to step in and say what she can or cannot do to her body. And so you may not necessarily be pro-abortion, but you can be pro-choice because you understand the importance of everybody having the ability to determine what happens to their body. And in this case, has significant impact on one's future, one's educational future, one's financial future. And so, you know, there are many, many people who don't believe in abortion, who would never have, or believe that they would never have an abortion for themselves or encourage anyone else to have one. However, they are pro-choice because they believe that it is an individual's decision to decide on their own.
That's the bottom line, that the individual decides on her own. And that is what Roe v. Wade had hoped to accomplish. I think that gets mixed up with other things. Termination, abortion, It is not, it's not anyone's first choice. That's just, people need to know that.
And I think that is also an important point that you made, Carol. You know, there are so many patients that I have had, that I have counseled on their different options. And especially if you are not intending to get pregnant, there are people who have done everything that they could. You know, a partner wore a condom, they have an IUD. And I always tell people that there is nothing that is 100% in terms of preventing you from getting pregnant except abstinence. And so, you know, sometimes people end up with an unintended pregnancy. And so whatever decision they make, whether it's to continue with the pregnancy, whether it's and keep the child, or continue with the pregnancy and put the child up for adoption, or to terminate the pregnancy, that's not an easy decision. And that is a decision which a lot of people don't realize, who've never been in that situation, that stays with the person for the rest of their life. And that's why it's so important that it is an individual decision, that they have that right to make that decision for themselves, depending on what's going on in their life and their circumstances and their lifestyle. They may not be in a position to carry a child. They may have significant medical problems where they know that if they get pregnant, that they're going to end up with, you know, high blood pressure or diabetes or eclampsia and start seizing in pregnancy, or end up with a stroke, right? So there are so many reasons why people may choose to continue or not to continue with the pregnancy. And it's really up to them to make that individual decision.
Exactly. Anna, you would probably
And then I would also like to add that even for people who find themselves conflicted, perhaps, in their feelings regarding abortion, there's really no downside to fighting for access to contraception, access to reproductive health care, and access to getting good education into school. So even if it wouldn't be your choice, or even if you're actually opposed to elective abortion, elective abortions go down when we have access to all of these other things. So we can all agree on that.
Absolutely. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Thank you both. Mitch, one or two more questions here?
Sure. We have a question from Brenda Miller. She wants to know if either of our speakers or any of our speakers know if backdoor abortions have started, especially in Texas.
Oh, that would just mean any, they've always been there, right?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the phrase backdoor abortion.
That means like, and I won't be personal here, about somebody who got asked to take a good friend to a motel to get an abortion once. And
I think they were called back alley abortions.
Backdoor, back alley. Yeah.
I think what you find is whenever access to something is restricted and people need a service, that they will find a way to get it. So when you talk about restrictive access, either that it's not allowed or you just cannot access, it's not accessible to you, it's too far away. And so, even though we haven't, it hasn't been as prevalent as it was prior to Roe versus Wade. Like Carol said, these things still happen. And unfortunately, we very well will most likely hear about a lot more of them happening, if we're not able to make sure that women in these states have access to reproductive health care.
Yeah, exactly. Another question, Mitch?
I don't have any more on my list here. Is there any other questions from the, let's see, we have a question from Jean Mullally.
A man who died, okay, I see it, yeah. Who always wanted a child and his wife became pregnant, but she chose an abortion. What thoughts should we have about that? I don't imagine we have the right to judge what happened there, but I'm sorry he didn't get a child, but perhaps he will have an opportunity later.
Had a good friend, he died last year. He always wanted a child. His wife became pregnant but chose abortion. What thoughts should we have about that? Okay, so, my thought is that, that is a conversation between husband and wife. And I don't know why she chose an abortion. I don't know what kind of discussion that they had prior to them getting married about, starting family. But again, at the end of the day, it was her body, and she was the one who was ultimately going to have to carry and be responsible for that life growing inside of her. And if she felt that at that particular time in her life that she did not want to be pregnant, then that was her right.
Anna?
In an ideal world, everybody communicates about these things ahead of time. Everyone is on the same page. The two partners in a relationship kind of have come to a decision ahead of time. But sometimes even when that conversation takes place, plans change, situations change. And, I feel conflicted in a different way sometimes when I have patients come to me who want to be on birth control and keep it secret from their partners.
No.
And, on the one hand, I want to make sure of the options that they need to limit pregnancy if that's not something that they desire. But on the other hand, I always counsel them, if this is not something that you're wanting, then this is a conversation that you should also try to have with your partner so that, everyone can have that clarity in their relationship and meet their reproductive goals, because men have the option to have reproductive goals as well. And, we should respect those, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the woman's body and her uterus and her long-term health issues that should allow her to make that decision.
I think one thing that has galled me in the last months has been the anti-mask and anti-vaxxers saying my body, my choice, and co-opting that particular concept and phrase. And I don't know how we reclaim, the serious differences between that kind of flippant, antisocial behavior and our own concern about women's reproductive freedom.
Honestly, I personally just ignore that.
Thank you.
Because I to Anna's point, I look at them, those are the same people that are also trying to restrict contraception, right? So on one end, you don't want people to have access to something that prevents them from getting pregnant, but then on the other end, when they get pregnant, you don't want them to have the right to decide if they want to continue it. But then when they continue with the pregnancy, it's the same group that wants to prevent them from getting services if they need it to help raise their child. So, they're just kind of like all over the place. They're, it's like they want to pick and choose. So I just kind of ignore it. And just, it's a phrase that we have used for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not going to let them skew it or make us try to figure out another phrase because they're using it today and tomorrow they'll use something different.
Right. Thank you.
So,
I've learned to live.
I'm wondering if our speakers would be interested or available to talk a little bit about the subject of the transgender rights. Seems like the same people who are trying to persecute pregnant women are now trying to persecute transgender children.
Huh.
Are either you? I'm springing on this you as a surprise. If you're not prepared to talk about it, that's fine. But
You probably had experience with it, Anna.
Yeah, we do offer gender affirming hormone therapy in our health centers at Planned Parenthood. And I know that there are other providers in the community that do the same. There is our affiliate at Planned Parenthood has chosen not to provide services to people under the age of 18, just because it creates a lot of kind of murky waters with consent and making sure that young people have really thought about all of their decisions in these matters. But it's an important thing to kind of reach your full potential. And when your body doesn't align with what you feel, we know that it creates a lot of mental anguish and anxiety and stress. And we know that people from the lesbian, gay, and bisexual community struggle enough as it is. And then when you add genderqueer issues on that or transgender issues, these people struggle a lot. And by being able to give them access to healthcare in general, but especially to gender affirming care, we're helping them to reach their full potential. And it's unfortunate that people fixate on very unusual circumstances because there are always going to be people who abuse laws. We know this across the board in any realm. And to try to pin, single cases on an entire transgender community, I think is very unfair.
Thank you. I'm told that Dr. Weber has to leave us now. So Dr. Weber, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for speaking. And do you have any final words on any subject at all before we bid you good night?
No, it's just so good to see you all. I look forward to seeing everyone in person. Hopefully we can have the big, picnic this year. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for remembering me and remembering my background and having me and inviting me on to talk about this. But this is a very, very important issue to me. It's, women's health, adolescent female health is one of the reasons why I went into OBGYN. And so it's extremely important to me. And I'm glad that you're having this conversation tonight. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Weber.
And I bet that her sons are well informed and will never make a girl or a young woman feel anything but good to be with them. I just feel like that's the kind of parent you want to be. Just knowing those two cuties that she has. Do you have a final word for us, Anna? And then I think we probably are through.
I just also want to thank you guys for having this conversation and inviting me to be here. It's great to see people who are engaged and wanting to improve their communities and the nation as a whole. And reproductive health is one piece of that puzzle, but kind of attacking things from all sides and contributing in any way we all play our different roles.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to meet you, and I hope you come back to the club. We'd love to see you again. Okay. Okay, thank you all. Remember, this is Women's History Month. If you need to tune into anything else, I'm sure there will be a whole lot of things happening during this month on PBS and other good stations. And there will be good, watch a few episodes of Call the Midwife.
Okay. Very, very, very appropriate. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Anna and Carol, for excellent presentation. So let us move on. I want to say a word here about our next meeting, which is going to be a blockbuster. It's going to be Wednesday, April 7th, in person at the La Mesa Community Center, 4975 Memorial Drive. Yay, in person. That's right. And the subject is going to be the winner's circle. We're going to have a whole bunch of Democrats who won elective office just come in and tell us how they did it, how they won that first time, and give us their tips and wisdom and what they did right, what they feel like they should have done differently maybe. And the goal of this is, if you're thinking about running, we definitely want you to run. That is very important, and we're going to try to nudge you in that direction and show you how you can make it successful.
April 6th. The Wednesday is April 6th, not 7th.
Yes, I was just testing to see if you were paying attention, and I'm glad to see that you were. Wednesday, yes, it is April 6th. What do you know? All right, so Wednesday, April 6th, in person at the Mesa Community Center. Now it's time once again to pass the virtual hat. Contribute to the club. If you've not paid up your membership, do so, and you can make an additional political contribution. Please do that. Your contributions help us bring you programming like this in-person meetings beginning next month, once again. And most importantly, they help elect Democrats and advance progressive policies. You can contribute at this URL, which I am about to paste into the chat. And that's, no, Katie got it first again. Haha. All right, so Katie's pasted all that information in there. And now comes the time at the end of every meeting when we hear from local leaders to talk for a minute or so each about things that are important for you to know about. If you'd like to speak to address our members, please raise your hand using the raise hand button, and we'll call you on give you the floor for a minute or so. We have a hand raised. We have Patricia Normandy Dillard. Go, Patricia.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, it's good to see everybody. I just have a quick announcement. I made it last month, and I just want to remind anyone who is a voting member that I am running for the AD 79 for the Central Committee open seat. And if you are a voting member, please remember to vote for Patricia Dillard for Central Committee AD 79. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Our next speaker is Michael Joseph.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me come to your meeting tonight. My name is Michael Fleming. I don't know why it puts Joseph up. That's my middle name. I'm running for San Diego Superior Court seat number 35. I just wanted to stop by and enjoy one of your meetings, let you know who I am, and that I'm running on a platform of closing the costly door of recidivism by using our collaborative courts, such as drug court, homeless court, and mental health court, to try to stop the pipeline to prison for some of our addicted and nonviolent criminals. I have a website that's been going up. Me and my web designer argue every morning about it. I'll put my information in the chat, but I'd love to converse with anyone who has any questions or would like to speak to me further, and I'll put everything in the chat. Thanks for having me again, and I hope to see you around.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Rebecca Cantor.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Cantor. I'm also running for San Diego County Superior Court seat 35. As you may know, the judicial canons which bind judicial candidates prohibit us from taking policy or platform positions. So I can't share any policy or issue positions with you tonight, but what I can do is tell you about my background and qualifications. I am a federal prosecutor, and I've been a trial attorney and prosecutor for 15 years in our major frauds and public corruption section. And I love tonight's event because this is an issue that's very close to my heart. One of my areas where I've contributed to the community is as a volunteer with Lawyers Club of San Diego, the pro-choice Women's Bar Association. And my first leadership role with Lawyers Club was co-chairing the Reproductive Rights and Women's Advocacy Committee, which is something that I did for multiple years before running for and being elected to the board. I also served on the board of San Diego County Bar Association, so I was elected to the 2 largest bar associations in San Diego. And even though this is a nonpartisan race, because all judicial races are, I'm a lifelong Dem who was a member of the San Diego County Young Dems way back when I was age eligible for Young Dems. And I have been endorsed by Tony Atkins, Todd Gloria, Nathan Fletcher, and your very own Colin Parent, with whom I served on the board of the San Diego Leadership Alliance after going through that program that he created. So I'm very happy to be here tonight and get to know some of you. I feel like I know your community a little bit because I have walked a lot of pavement for Colin Parent back in the days when he was running, and I really enjoy being part of your community. So thank you for having me here tonight.
Next up, we're going to hear from Andrea Dembski.
Thank you, Mitch. Hi, everyone. What a great meeting tonight. This is a really great topic and update and training. Great meeting. My name is Andrea Beth Dembski. I am chair of La Mesa's Environmental Sustainability Commission, and I'm also a candidate for Helix Water District Division 2. I want to announce first that our commission, the Environmental Sustainability Commission, has a vacancy for a professional in the environmental sustainability field. If you're interested or know somebody who lives in La Mesa who would be interested, have them contact the City Hall office. Through my work on the commission since 2017 and in my 3rd year as its chair, I've worked with La Mesa, neighboring cities, and our county to tackle the climate emergency by helping to establish San Diego Community Power, planning for the recycling of green waste, and we have more programs on the way. However, our population continues to grow as the drought gets worse and our summers get hotter, drier, and longer. And we have the risk of catastrophic wildfires, all of which compete for precious water resources. So for these reasons, I'm turning my attention to water, our water needs for the future, running for this very important water district seat. I hope I can gain this club support. I'm currently a student with the Emerge California training program, which trains Democratic women to run for office. And got my bank account opened up, got my campaign committee set up, and I'll have more information coming in the weeks to come. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Andrea. And what office are you running for again? I'm a little slow tonight. Repeat that again,
Helix
please.
Water District Division 2.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else want to speak? Raise your hand. Going once, going twice. All right, that covers our speakers, I believe. So now we're done. Let's wrap up. Look for a replay of this meeting soon on our YouTube channel. Just search for the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club on YouTube and subscribe while you're there. Also look for links to the video on our website, Facebook page and group and Twitter account, or in our email updates soon. Actually, the video should be up within a few minutes, but we'll get out the announcements a little later as soon as we can. The website is the Mesa-Foothills-Democratic-Club.com, or if that's too much for you to type, lmfdems.com. The Facebook page and group have the same name as the club. On Twitter, we're LMFDems. And if you want to sign up for our email updates, go to the website and look for the Get Email Updates link at the top of the page. I do urge you to do that. That's kind of our primary means of communicating with the membership and groups. Thank you to the board for their hard work arranging this meeting, and also thanks to our excellent speakers and to you for spending some of your valuable time with us. Our next meeting is Wednesday, April 6th in person at the La Mesa Community Center, 4975 Memorial Drive in La Mesa at 7 p.m. with unstructured conversations starting at 6:30 p.m. The topic is going to be that candidate's winning circle. Thank you for staying with us, and we hope to see you again soon in real life. Stay healthy, stay sane, and good night.
Don't forget to bring your proof of vaccination to the next meeting. We will be checking them at the door.
Thank you for that, Tina. And that's a good thing to remember.